You are here today for what you need to know about pricing with Gloria Spence. Gloria, if you'd go to the next slide for me. You wanted to...
No, you go
okay.
ahead.
Go ahead. Okay, great. SCORE offers a couple different things to small business owners. We offer training in the form of webinars and workshops. We have a few in-person workshops that we are slowly adding. So I encourage you to watch for our newsletter and check out the website to find out what we have coming up. The most important thing that SCORE does, however, is the mentoring. The mentoring is always free and confidential. Our mentors are volunteers that have a wide variety of experience and knowledge to share with you. We work with people in all forms. So we're working with those that are coming to us, asking us to help them figure out if owning a small business is right for them. We're working with those that are in the planning phase, and we're working with those that already have a business. Perhaps they want to figure out a growth strategy, or they need help with beefing up their marketing or their financials, or whatever the case may be. We've got a mentor to cover that subject. You do not have to have a business license to come to us. In fact, we prefer that you come to us first before you do that, so that you are ready to go and have thought about everything. If you would like a mentor, you can go to the chapter websites listed here. And you could also just go to score.org and put in your zip code, and they'll help you connect to the right mentor. If you've had a mentor in the past and it's been a long time, definitely reach out, let them know what you're up to. And while you're on the website, definitely look at the library. There's downloadable templates and blogs and old, recordings of other webinars, etc. So definitely a lot of information there for you to look at. We do anticipate a nice crowd today, so we are using Q&A tab for questions that you want asked to the presenter. We will ask those at the appropriate time, but if you have a question you want asked to our presenter, please put that into the Q&A tab. Everything else can go into chat for sure. It just allows us to not lose track of those questions. So that's all I have, and it's all yours, Gloria.
All right, well, thank you all for coming. So my name is Gloria Spence, and I was the Director of Finance for the Northeast region for Hearst Television for 37 years. I was a SCORE counselor for 5 years, and I currently, and I also was presenting workshops at that time. But right now I am presenting workshops. Here are some of the ones that I do personally and or with someone else sometimes. So if you like what you hear today, take a look at any of these others, and you'll be able to see me do these a couple times. My background in Hearst is I did everything finance related, budgets and forecasting and pricing and different types of accounting, bookkeeping, etc. So I know a lot about things. I always say it's a little bit about everything. A jack of all trades, master of few. So today, what's the objective of today's workshop? Well, in my mind, it really is to increase your profits. And how you can do that is a couple different ways. You can do it by increasing your sales. You can do it by reducing your expenses. And you can do it by increasing the price of your product or service. In my mind, I think the latter is probably the easiest to do. Reducing your expenses, that is always something that you should be looking at. I don't know, I just think in today's world that everybody is very conscious about that. And I think you'll get in most cases, you'll get a bigger bang for your buck by doing either one of the others, the sales or your pricing. Increasing sales is hard. You got to do marketing, you got to do a lot of other things to get that to happen. And I'll give you a couple examples of why I think it's the easier of the three. So people ask, where should I set my prices? How much should I charge? And, generally, what if people are always worried that they're going to charge too much and not get any business. There's also a downside to charging too little as well. And what SCORE has found over the years that new entrepreneurs tend to underprice themselves from the get-go. A little bit of insecurity there. It's just human nature to do that in a lot of cases. Now, either scenario, too much or too little, is going to have the same impact on your business. You're going to have difficulty luring the customers. If your price is too low, they're going to think you're, a bargain basement, and you're not going to have, I'm not going to get quality service from you. And if you don't find your right niche, you're just going to have trouble luring customers to your business, period. And of course, if you are charging too low, you're not going to meet your goals. You're not going to meet your profits. You're not going to meet your cash flow. So you have to find what I would call the sweet spot of what is the right number to charge. So when you are determining your pricing, there's three factors that you need to look at. The first is cost. The second is product strategy. And the difference, product strategy is controllable. You have complete control over this area. And we'll get into that a little bit more. And then the third one is market conditions, of which you have little to no control over, but you still have to manage it. You still have to address it. So costs are the first and most important factor to consider. And there are two kinds of costs, variable costs and fixed costs. If you don't know what your costs are, you're going to flounder, truly flounder with pricing. If you don't know how much you have to break even on, then you just are not going to get to this number very quickly. So the difference between variable costs and fixed costs, not every business has variable costs. Those are usually retail, restaurants, manufacturing, those types of businesses where you are creating, and your business, your sales depend on your costs, depend on the volume of what you sell. The more you sell, the lower the better margin you're going to have. So again, not all businesses have that. Every business has fixed costs, and these costs will be there whether you sell one item or whether you sell 1 million items. And it's your rent, it's your utilities, it's your, it's any insurance, it's any of those types of costs that most businesses have to some degree. So my little note down here, companies that don't cover their costs go out of business very quickly. You really need to know what those numbers are before you get into this. So I have included two slides here that are related to the actual calculation of a break-even point and another formula to follow. These are formulas, and I'm not going to get into them specifically, but I do think it's important that you have them. And if you are interested, you can go in there and play around with these numbers, with these formulas. And these, again, are particularly applicable to those who have cost of goods sold. That's where the formulas and the actual pricing of things is more complicated. And then here is a sample of a break-even calculation using some dollars and cents into the calculation. Again, I'm not going to go into this in detail, but this is something that you can have to play around with later on. But I am going to give you two examples of how the increasing the pricing works, and so you can see the actual math of it. I'm a web designer, and my monthly costs are $5,000 a month. My hourly rate is $50. Assume that I work and bill 40 hours a week, 160 hours a month. My total income for any given month is going to be $8,000 if I'm fully booked, right? And my expenses are $5,000. So I subtract the two of those, and my monthly income is $3,000 before taxes. So let's take a look and see what happens when you raise your price $10. My hourly rate's $10, $60 now. I'm still working the 40 hours and billing the 40 hours. subtract my $5,000, and now my profit has increased $1,600 a month just by adding $10 to my hourly rate. The next example, $75, adding $25 to my monthly rate, I now am increasing my profit a month by $4,000. Now, maybe the sweet spot is somewhere between 60 and 75 to get you to your goal, but this is the math of how you can see what happens by doing nothing else except raising your price. I mean, I always want to ask the question, and you should ask this question yourself. How many of my clients are going to leave me for $10 an hour? I mean, I don't know the answer to that. You're going to have to guess at that, whether or not you will. You might lose some of them at $25 an hour, maybe. You might not. But the increase in the rate may offset some of those losses to you as well. Now, another way to approach this calculation is increasing the number of hours that you work, number of hours that you bill. Now, the billable hours may be different than the actual hours you work, but you're going to bill now for 50 hours a week instead of 40 hours at the same rate. So that difference is now $2,000 more per month. So what's it worth to you? Increasing the $60 and not working more hours and going from $1,600 more or to $2,000? Again, that's a question you want to ask yourself. But the two ways that you can do this, work more hours or increase your rate. Now, and again, maybe it's a combination of both of those things. Any questions related to everything we've done so far?
We do not currently have any posted questions, but we are recording today. You can find that recording at the link I put into the chat, and any key slides like the ones we're looking at right now, we will put into a PDF and send to you. So don't worry, we got you covered. Okay.
Okay, so here's another example, a beauty salon. And I'm approaching this a little bit differently. My cost, once again, to operate a beauty salon is $5,000 a month. My average price of service, now remember, I offer a number of different services and they are all different. Hair color, haircut, nails, anything there is all different. And so I averaged my price and said, okay, average price is $30. Sometimes it's going to be more, sometimes it's going to be less. So what do I need to break even? I need to get $5,000. How do I get that? So my break even is 170 customers a month or 42 customers a week. So now I'm focusing on something a little bit different. I'm focusing on bringing in 42 customers a week. So how are you going to do that? That's a marketing way. That's a marketing question that you have to answer. Now, if I want to change my price, if I want to increase my price here, I'm going to increase the average. I'm going to increase it from the $30 to $50. Now, to get a little bit more specific on this, you could go in and analyze the services that you provide, which ones you provide the most for, and raise some a little bit and some a lot. You always have to be looking at your pricing. So you could increase your average pricing to $50, and now your monthly profit is now going to be $33.50 as opposed to breaking even. Okay, so again, you can slice and dice these things a couple different ways looking at them, and it's probably not a bad idea to look at them a couple different ways to see if you can find a pattern or something that's consistent. Okay, so the bottom line. Oh no, okay, yeah. You must know what your costs are before you can seriously begin the pricing process. And if anybody have any trouble with knowing what their costs are, you do need to put that together. And the second thing, very important thing, is you need to know how much you want to take from the business. How much do you want to be paid? Because if we go back to the last slide where your break-even point was X amount of dollars, That's not good enough for you because you'll be working for free. You want to incorporate in the pricing how much money you want from the business. Do you want $2,000 a month? Do you want $5,000? Do you want to be a millionaire? That plays a very big part in your pricing strategy. So we talked about the costs, and now we're going to talk a little bit about the product strategy. And again, this piece is very controllable by you because you are making all these decisions. So you want to ask yourself, how do you want your customer to view your product? Do you want them to think it's a luxury high-end product? Do you want it to be a mass consumption where it's a need, a basic need? Is this something that is purely economical, that I need something, I don't want to spend a lot of money on it? And discretionary. Discretionary is things that we want, but we really don't need. So your target market, who do you want to attract to your product? Is there a geographic area that you want to focus on? Is it a particular region? Is it your neighborhood? Is it the Boston market? Is your product unique to a certain climate? You're not going to sell hats in Florida. Population, do you want? What type of population? Is it a big group, a small group? And then the demographics is another category that is very important. Is your product or service specifically geared towards any one of these? Age, gender, income, occupation, education, nationality, and race. So this area will also, again, help you define who your target person is that you want to buy or sell your product. Psychographic. This is lifestyle, interests, and your personal values. Here, I would say examples would be, do I want to grab the person who's rushing to work in the morning? So I'm going to have coffee ready to go. Are they physically active? Are they hikers? Are they bikers? Do they go to the gym all the time? Are they fitness freaks? And then also the personal values too. Is it important for your customer to know that you are environmental friendly? What is it that you do to make the world a better place, to breathe, to live, all those types of things? And then behavioral. Is your product an occasional thing, like for birthdays, anniversaries, special occasions? Do you want to have your product have the image of brand loyalty? Is that important to you? Brand loyalty is really very good to have because you just have to keep your customer. You don't have to keep going out there to look for new customers. So this one here is, if you can establish brand loyalty in any of your products, this is always a good one. Usage, how are they going to use it? And then another important one, and especially in today's world, is the benefits that you're seeking from this product. Do I want this product for convenience? Do I go to this restaurant because they'll deliver? Or will I go to this restaurant because, they serve gluten-free food? What's unique about your product or service that someone will look out for, that will seek out? Company objective. This is, again, your choice. What do you want your company objective to be? And it should be consistent with, do I want to increase my product line in the future? Do I want to add more services to my services? What direction do I want my company to take? Do I want to keep growing? Do I want to stay mom and pop? Do I want to open up other locations eventually? And you can and should have long-term and short-term goals. Maybe your short-term goals is just to make money, just to give you the salary that you And then, of course, your values. A lot of businesses now are really focusing on values. They're donating to causes throughout the world. And so that's another, and volunteerism in the community. How do you want your business or service to be represented in the community? Now, here are the uncontrollable conditions, and these are market conditions, and we have very little to no control over these, but you still have to deal with them. You still have to know about them and work with them within your business. So competition, you should always know who your direct and indirect competitors are. Now, the difference between direct and indirect, if I have a coffee shop, and you can have coffee shops on every block. There's nothing wrong with that. And they do survive and survive quite well. But you want to know that going into it. You want to know how many direct competitors I have. Indirect competitors. Those are, the example I use is the entertainment business. I can be entertained by movies. I can be entertained by the theater. I can be entertained by concerts. Entertainment is going out to dinner all the time. These are indirect competitors, and they may or may not have an influence on your business, but you should at least acknowledge if there are any. You should also know your competition well, and that is not easy. You can superficially know them. You can go in there into the restaurant and try them out and experiment there and see what the experience is there. You can check out the pricing there. You can, in some businesses, you can go online and check their pricing. A lot of businesses don't put their prices online still. The issue with knowing what your competition is you can know them superficially, but you really don't know if they're making money or not. They may have people lined outside the door to get into their place, but you don't know what their arrangements are with their suppliers. If they've been in business a long time, they probably have established good credit with suppliers, and they probably are getting better deals. They could be mismanaging. They could be just breaking even for all you know. They could be making just enough for them to survive. So it's a double-edged sword, your competition. They could be pricing their products too low. So, but you still need to know what they're doing. And then you got to determine where you fit into all of this. And, again, I always use this word, what is your sweet spot in this whole picture? So market conditions. Now, what's important here is you need to know the number of competitors and how long they've been in business, because again, for those same reasons, you want to know if somebody's been in business for a long time, they've got some brand loyalty going on there. And how are you going to take away their business? You're going to take it away by underpricing them, or you're going to take away their business by increasing the price and offering them something beyond what they are offering. A big issue in the market is supply and demand. If there's no demand, then you're going to have some trouble getting pricing to where you want it to be. Again, commodity versus specialty. Specialty, people want what they want, and often they will pay anything for it if they have it, even if they don't have it. Commodity, you need it, so you're going to get it. So that commodities tend to be a little bit more competitive. Local and national economy, you want to look at what's going on in the world, what's going on in the country, what's going on in your particular area. Is the economy doing well? Is the economy not doing so well? And what is the economy impacting? How does it impact your industry? Of course, we've got the global thing going on where, that has if your business is global, then you've got to take that into consideration as well. When you start your business up, this should be an important factor. Is your industry that you're getting into, is it growing or is it mature? And there's no wrong answer here. You just need to know what it is, because this is what an industry cycle looks like. Okay, so you start up and the business is low and you're growing and you're growing. And then at some point, every business reaches a maturity level where they're not growing anymore. And so what happens here, and this is in the mature business, you've got to decide once you start to see this happening, do I reinvent my business? Do I add another product line? What do I do to keep this number staying above and not drop so much? It may go up and down a little bit, but in each one of these different phases, you have to find the solution, and the solution is not the same. So that's why it's important to know what the industry life cycle is. If you're getting in on a startup and your business is your product or service is new, you can name your price pretty much. But if you have to worry about other people, other businesses, then you have to think a little bit more about it. Growth is always that's the perfect phase to be in, is growth, where you just keep growing. And you can, at that growth phase, you can almost do nothing wrong except, totally screw it up. But that's the sweet spot to be in, is growth. And again, if you're in a small business and you're mature and you're happy with what you're making, then this is a fine place to be too. But every business at some point reaches a maturity level, and it's just, how do they reinvent themselves? What do they do to get those numbers back up, or just keep those numbers from falling? So there are a lot more than 4 different pricing strategies, but these are the 4 basic ones, the most used ones, and the easier ones to start out with, at least mentally, to start thinking about it. Markup pricing. So markup pricing is, you find out what your costs are, and you find out how much you want to make, and you find that that's 20%. Adding an extra $20 onto my pricing will give me the salary that I want for the year. So you just increase your price by 20%. It's arbitrary. And what you're doing here is you're backing into your profits. This is what I want to make, and this is what I'm going to charge. Each different industry has different typical markups, and you should know what those markups up if you are having a regular existing business. For example, the grocery store business, their markup is generally very low, 2%, 3%. But they make their money on volume. They sell gazoodles of groceries. Some others are not like that. Competitor-based pricing. So this goes back to the restaurants and the coffee shops. You want to know what your competitor is their pricing. So you have 3 options. You can either lower your price the same, or price higher. And so if you're going to price more than them, like I mentioned before, you've got to have something that differentiates yourself from your competitor. And an example of this is the businesses that have a lot of competition: pizza shops, restaurants, coffee shops, nail salons. You can have 2 of them. You see them on the same block all the time, and you wonder, geez, how are they surviving? We don't know if they are or not, but they're still open. So we are assuming that they're at least surviving to some degree. But this one here, in many cases, you don't have a choice but to charge what your competitor's charging. Again, unless you can differentiate from it. One of the questions that I get asked is it's difficult to find out what consultants are getting. That is hard. Again, consultants may have a website, but they generally don't put their pricing on the website. So some of these are difficult to find out what other people are charging. So you would go back to what are my costs and how much do I want to make, and a few of those other factors. Do I want to charge lower now just to start to get some customers in and some clients to work with, And then as your business starts to pick up by word of mouth, you start increasing your rates. I mean, that's a viable strategy for sure. Value-based pricing. This one considers what the value is of the product or service to the consumer rather than how much it costs to produce it. So an example of this is the luxury and designer brands. You know, a Coach bag, $100, $180, $200 at least. And, how much does it cost them to make that? Probably not 50% of that. So it doesn't matter how much what your business costs are at that point. But it's what you can quote unquote get away with. What are they willing to pay to have your product, to have the convenience of your service, to have the reputation that you provide, that I know that I will get good customer service. I may pay more for this service, but I know I'm going to get treated well. Tiered pricing. So this allows a customer to choose the price level that best fits their budget. And it can be referred to as, this product is good, my second product is better, and my third product is the best, and obviously the most expensive. So another way of saying it is economy, mass market, premium, and luxury options for products of service that have increasing levels of value. This tiered pricing is good for consultants. And the reason why it is because, you may be untested. They may not have heard of you. They may not understand completely what you can do for them. They may not have the budget for it. So you offer them a basic package of X amount of dollars. And you got to be clear about this up front so that so you set the expectations of what it is you're going to provide for that rate. And they may, or you may have other services that you can provide to them, but at this point, they're not willing to pay for it. Maybe they don't need it now. So what you then say is somebody comes in and they says, well, I want blah, blah, blah. And you can say, well, that's in my next package. And the price point on that is $500 more. So the auto industry does this, that you go in to buy a car and, you're looking for a car at this price, and they're going to try and upsell you for a nicer, more expensive car. And if you can afford it, you probably could be talked into it. And if not, then they won't lose you. You'll still be with them at the lower price. Key takeaways. You've got to know what your costs are. And you've got to know how much you want from the business. What is your salary going to be? How much are you going to bring home every month? There's a lot of factors that influence your pricing decision. Not all of them will be applicable to your business, but read through them, think about each one of them, gives each one of them some time, and determine whether or not this has any influence on your decision. And you should always evaluate your pricing. And over the last 2 years, everything has gone up. And I say to people, you have got to look at this now, because if you don't jump on the bandwagon and raise your price now, when this inflation stops, and it will stop, things are going to get stagnant and you will be stuck at a lower rate than everybody else. It'd be a lot more difficult for you to increase your price. If you're afraid to do this, you're going to offend your clients. A couple ways, the way I suggested doing it is leaving your current customers alone if you have a service-based business where you approach them each individually. Now, in retail, you can't do that. So if you're afraid of offending your current customers, leave them alone, increase all your new customers at a higher rate. The other thing you can do with your old customers is you could increase your new customers, come back to them and say, I'm increasing my prices across the board. The effective date is, and you pick 2 months out from now. It gives them time to process it. Now, it does give them time to go out and shop around, that's for sure. So you can or don't have to give them notice, but That is another option, another way to ease into the increasing of prices. But again, it can be difficult. It can be intimidating to increase your prices with your current clients, and I get that. You know, if you're at a restaurant or a retail or you know, any of those types, you know, we all kind of have you know, we go in. You know, my favorite example right now is eggs. I mean, eggs are, you know, they used to be less than $2 a dozen, and now they're $5 and $6 a dozen. You remember that. I mean, you know, I remember a $5 increase. I mean, there's no way I'm not going to remember that. So you are going to remember those big increases, but are you going to remember $1.50, $2? You're probably not. You're going to go, oh yeah, maybe that did go up. But when you don't have these huge increases, you don't remember them quite as easily. But the bottom line here again, increasing your pricing is the easiest way to increase your profits. Now, having said all of this, ultimately the consumer determines the price, because if they're not buying your product, then your price is not right. Something is wrong if you are not getting the business. It may be your price, it may not be your price. It may be who your audience is. It may be, you know, the outside factors that you have no control over, but you got to find out what those are. Does anybody have any questions?
We do have some questions. So
All right.
I do see we have one person with their hand up. If you're intending to ask your question out loud, go ahead and keep your hand up. If you do not want to ask your question out loud, then lower your hand. I will start with the ones that are in the Q&A. The life cycle status, is it specifically for my business or for the industry my business would be in?
It's for your industry. Yeah, you have to relate to your industry to some degree, because I mean, it's just the big picture. Because if what's happening to your industry most likely will be happening to you if it hasn't already. So you have to keep both of those in mind. That's why I don't address the individual business, but you should do that. Use that chart to help you understand where your business lies in that life cycle.
Okay, next question. Where would you research markup pricing standards for different industries?
We refer everybody to the Boston Public Library, to the Kirstein Library. They have access to a lot of business subscriptions that you and I can't afford to use one time and then you know, close it up. So we recommend, and they are very open to helping SCORE clients, to speak with them, and they will help you research some of these questions.
Okay, John, you're first. You can unmute and ask your question.
Do I have to do something?
No, you don't have to do anything.
Okay.
We'll come back to John. Christine, you're next. Go ahead and unmute, ask your question.
Great. I just had a question. I think it was one of the last slides that you had around the consumer sort of dictates the pricing. So what would you suggest as a next step if your potential client isn't grabbing at your pricing that you currently have? Like, what would be a next step?
What do you mean? Like he's not grabbing at it, or they
Well,
are
like, I mean, I've had some clients over the past couple of years, but it hasn't been a consistent on a monthly basis. And I'm just wondering, with that slide saying the consumer determines it, I mean, what would you suggest is a next step to find out what the happy medium is on?
Well, let me ask you a couple of questions. What type of business do you have? And is your business retention based?
Retention based, meaning they have to do it for a prolonged period of time.
Yeah, like a consultant, like where they'll stay with you a long time, or is it-
Usually it's more of like a 3-month period. So it's a life coaching business and I do one-on-one coaching and also workshops. But the workshops are kind of like a longer life cycle. So, ideally I would like to get 2 to 3 one-on-one clients per month, and I'm not hitting that goal right now. And I work with basically working moms with young children under 6. So they have very high costs, dual income families, daycare costs, like the whole thing. So I've been thinking about the pricing quite a bit.
Well, sometimes it's not your price. Sometimes you haven't found the way to reach your customer. So in my mind, that's a little bit more of what I'm hearing than perhaps the pricing issue in this case. So I would try to find different ways to market your business. Find out, again, go back to those categories of, who are you trying to reach out to? It sounds like you're trying to reach out to parents, to mothers in particular.
Yeah.
And, maybe you need to tap into someone, a group of people who can more afford this, because more afford what you're able to do.
Great.
Does
Thank
that
you.
make sense?
Yeah, and that's kind of there's like a certain threshold on salary that I think my potential client is, and I think that the marketing piece is sort of where I'm headed now.
Yeah. And again, I would concentrate on, who could best, not only who wants your product, but who can afford it.
Right.
Because you don't want to do it for free.
Exactly.
Okay, good.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, Jessica, if you'd like to unmute and ask your question.
Hi there. So I run actually a pole dance and fitness studio. And we are moving into a different neighborhood that is much lower income than our current neighborhood. So we're actually looking to do the opposite. We're trying to figure out a way to reduce our pricing because we'll be increasing our volume without devaluing our services. And I was interested to hear your input on what happens when you drop your rates.
Well, again, I'm going to use the volume of a grocery store. It's not quite the same thing, but if your prices are low, then you've got to do volume. You have, if you wanted to bring the same income into your business that you had when you were charging more, you'll have to figure out a way to bring in more students, more people, and more people in a class, more classes. Not just going out there and finding more people, but how will you accommodate them within your studio? Can you, how many classes did you have before? Were they at the right times? Would this group of people, would they need more evening classes or morning classes? Those types of questions you have to ask yourself. You want to accommodate that new group of people. What will they be looking for from your service? Does that make sense?
Yes. I'm also interested in your thoughts of when you transition from charging your current clientele to charging less.
Oh, you want to do it the reverse, huh?
Yes.
Ooh. Well, I mean, I'm going to use an example of a gym. Gyms run membership programs. And, when they do new memberships, a lot of times they just charge the new people. And I don't know what they're charging the person standing next to me. Maybe you don't. Now you run a little bit of a risk there of them finding out. Maybe you offer them more. Can you offer them more classes for that same amount of money?
My thought is trying to do something along the lines of tiered so that we can keep the current rate, but drop something new. Yeah,
exactly. Yes, exactly. Do a tier type of thing. That's exactly what I would recommend too.
Thank you.
Yeah, I never had anybody ask me about dropping prices, but it's a good question.
Okay, Tina, you can unmute.
Hi, thank you. This has been a great learning experience. So I am transitioning from being a one-on-one therapist to a more globally oriented, nationally and international life coach with, now that I have more neuro training. And so I knew what it was like to charge a fee, my hourly rate. So now I know I need to charge more of like a packaging. Is this where the tiering, the tiered session, the tiered type of coaching pricing would work? And then I also have a question: are your coaches people who would understand how to work with this type of transition that I speak of, and pricing and things like that in particular?
You mean the mentors at SCORE?
SCORE, yes,
Yes,
SCORE
yes.
mentors, yes.
There will be some, yes, there will be some who could help you with this. To go back to answer your question, let me ask you this: is this new skill set that you have, I think I heard you say, is that something different than that you'll be offering? Or
Yes, is something different. In other words, it is. It's so with the psychotherapy, it was more working about in the past, more like problem solve. This is more like future-based, future-oriented. I'm not going to be diagnosing people's problems and things like that. So yes, it's definitely new skills and whatnot, and definitely higher costs and things like that.
Okay, so yeah. Now, would somebody want both of those?
It's tricky because of laws that have to do with putting yourself out as a therapist or as a coach and then acting as a therapist. So I really have to jump on one bandwagon. And so I just want to go right into the coaching right now, just to be clear, so that I'm not violating any laws.
Correct. Okay, that's good. I having trouble visualizing the tiers that you would do then. How would you do the tiers?
That's what I don't know. So,
Yeah.
so maybe it's not tiers, maybe it's just packages.
Packages?
Like
Yeah.
X months of X sessions.
Yes. If you commit to 3 months, it's this rate. If you commit to 4 months, it's that rate.
It's something like on the concierge type of, concierge type of medicine.
Yes.
What do you know about that? And does this fit into that category at all?
I
Concierge
don't know.
medicine, I don't think it fits into that, because they have like an annual package, but I don't think it fits into that either. So I'm a little just kind of confused at how I would do this.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to get too specific into your business, but you've got some potential there of you're right to question how to do this. But I do think there is some solutions for you, and you just kind of have to talk them out.
Who would I connect with to find out about the right coach?
Yeah, Teresa will help you find someone.
Yeah, if you just email me, I just put it into the chat. If you would email me, I can connect you to a mentor that can help you with specifically more narrowed down into what you do.
Let's see if I can see it.
It's that outreach@scoreboston.org email.
Thank you so much, Teresa. I really appreciate that. That would be great, because I know I didn't want to take up time for everybody else's. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Tina.
Thank you.
Okay, I have another question. You mentioned the library for resources. You were talking about the Kirstein Library at Boston Public downtown.
Yes,
Is that
exactly,
okay? We were
yes.
just confirming that. Okay.
Yep.
Is there a rule of thumb on how to estimate cost of taxes and insurance?
What kind of insurance?
Yeah, we don't know. Sorry.
I mean, basic insurance, you should know what that is. Taxes, you mean like federal income tax? If it's your income tax, you're supposed to do quarterly estimates. So you can look at your profit. If you're a sole proprietor or LLC, you could look at your quarterly profit and base your estimate federal tax on that. Yeah, it's
It's hard to get into it without knowing exactly what they.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly. But,
Yes.
but you are supposed to do the quarterly things. And so, you know, what's your profit for the quarter? And if you have no profit the next quarter, then, you know, I'd still send them something, but,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and certainly, remember that's a SCORE mentor can help you look at these things one-on-one. And we can get you, they can help you get into more in depth. Let's see, they say to estimate you'll take home 2/3 of the posted salary. What would it be for your own business? This is expansion on that tax question. For traditional job, they say to estimate you'll take home 2/3 of what your posted salary is. What would it be for your own business is what they're asking.
You
But
mean like
yeah,
a percentage flat, yeah, I mean, I don't think I could give a percentage. Again, I think it's based on what your quarterly income is. And,
yeah.
you know, and then once you've had a year under your belt, you know, if your
And-
year is going the same way, your tax is going to be pretty much. the
And
same.
whether there's employees or not employees and all those
Exactly.
things. So yes, absolutely reach out to SCORE, work with a mentor so that they can look at your situation specifically and they can give you a better answer. Okay, that wraps it up. That's all the questions, Gloria.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. I will send out a follow-up email with a couple of those key slides that Gloria showed you today, and the registration link, which I also explained to you where to find that at in the chat, but I will reiterate that in the follow-up email. And have a great rest of your week, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.